Okay, we're recording.
Yeah.
It's black. Black.
Oh,
Is he an
He turned his
angry?
name black.
Can you see it? Yeah, it's like one of those.
Okay. Matt?
Hi, I'm MFickes. I'm a senior at Monroe High School, and in my project, Crash Protection, the Future of Car Designs. My research question was, how do car designs protect their passengers, and what about the design should we change in order to make safer vehicles? I was interested in how the physical aspects of car protect their occupants, and in what areas they were lacking, how we could fix that, and how they were going to change in the future. Car safety is a really important topic because so many people are hurt and killed in car accidents every year across the world. It's also a lead contributor to teenage death across the world. To answer these questions, I interned at IIHS. IIHS is a nonprofit organization. They're paid for by insurance companies in order to help them cut down on insurance claims and save money. They test cars and release the safety results online. So potential buyers can look at them and review the safety ratings of these cars. They also look for new innovative ways to improve car safety. They test new technology and such. My mentor was Becky Mueller. She's a research engineer at IIHS, overseeing test crashes on the small overlap frontal. That is a type of accident that I'll get into later. This is a picture in front of a crash test. This was my first day. She wanted me to see the whole process of test crashes. I was surprised by how much preparation there is ahead of time, because they gotta measure it. They gotta talk with the representatives of the car company, and it's their main thing that they do at the facility. So it was a good thing to see. Plus, it's also a nice way to start off by seeing a car get smashed into a concrete object. So there's different ways that a car design protects its passengers. In the front area, that's known as the crush zone or the crumple zone. It's made out of softer materials that will give way in an accident. So it will absorb some of the force and also cushion some of it from the driver up there. An important part of this is the frame rails. There's two of them right there, and they are built with notches in them, so they'll fold in a specific way when in a car accident. So the manufacturer of the car knows exactly how it's going to react when it gets hit with force. It absorbs a lot of the force. Then there is the compartment area around where the passenger is sitting. This is made out of harder, more dense materials to keep objects out from that safety cage around the passenger. And then there is a new technique that's been used recently, the engagement extension. It's found on the front, on the sides of the cars, and its purpose is to divert some of the force or deflect it away. And it's tested well in a car test, but there's a problem with it that when it deflects it, it causes a lot of lateral movement from the car. And this is good in testing because there's a lot of wide open. In real life scenarios, it's not so good because if, for example, an accident happens at a busy intersection, then the car could get deflected away into an oncoming lane and get hit by another car or hit another car, which would be dangerous, especially because second impact crashes are particularly dangerous because some of the crush zone has already been crushed up and will not be able to absorb any more force. And the airbags are already deployed, so that'd be really bad for the driver of that car. Also, with the lateral movement, it also causes the driver's head to be pushed away in a different direction from the airbag right in front of them. That's the steering wheel, which is the normal area where the head should hit, but that's been addressed by adding more airbags, so that's not really an issue so much anymore. I think it's a good design, but it needs to be moderated so that there's not too much lateral movement. Accidents that they research at IIHS. There's a frontal, which is by far the most amount of accidents. There are the most categories in that as well. There is the side, which is the most dangerous due to there not being any crumple zone on the side area. They just go straight to the compartment, harder metal area, so that's pretty dangerous. And then rollovers, which usually happens from cars going off the road, in which the car actually flips, and that's got a lot to do with the roof strength of the car and its support. The Frontal, there are different types of that. For example, the full frontal, which is what they commonly research, which is just the entire front of the car, and that's what they often tested at first. But then they discovered that's not very accurate of real life crashes, as when two cars are coming at each other, they try to swerve out of the way of each other, and they'll usually just hit on one side of it. And that's a problem because then only one frame rail is used in the car accident. It's really not meant to be able to support and absorb the full force of an accident. So that's a problem. And the crash in the center area, it's a small object, and it'll go right in between the two frame rails. So the frame rails, once again, are not used there. Yeah, and then there's also oblique crashes, which where the car comes in from an angle, which is very similar to side partial, which only uses one frame rail. However, a solution to that would be other frame rails throughout the car that then lead back into the main frame rails, which are right there and there, as in there could be one there and one there that lead back into it. So they would take the force and give another load path for the force to take. IIHS has tested some of this, and the cars that do that do better because the force has more load pass and is able to absorb the force better and has multiple areas in which it can absorb the force. Another good place for it is the wheel well. The wheel well can be used as a frame rail that diverts back into it, and that would catch the most partial side crashes, which are just here, which would normally totally miss a frame rail and just go right into that area. But then they'd be able to catch it and absorb some of the force. But turns out car safety was not. I was gonna just do all of this about the physical aspects of car safety, but it turns out that was not enough because there's so much other factors that count into it, like policies and regulations. While they're not like any physical thing, they really help out. For example, the rollover test in IHS, they just and after doing some tests on that, they released the results, and regulations were made to have cars have stronger roof and support. And this is the same model, but the next year version. And as you can see, it is totally fine from that same test. There's the metal part that drops down the back of the car. And its purpose is to keep a car from breaking through it and entering underneath the truck, because it would bypass the crumple zone totally and just break right through the windshield into that area. And in tests, it's decapitated the test dummy, which is obviously a big problem with safety. And current truck underrides, as you can see in this picture, are just not strong or supportive enough to be able to stop a car at a good speed going in. It would just break right through it and just smash it into the back of the car. IHS has been working on creating a more reinforced, supportive truck underride that would be able to stop the car from entering underneath the truck into that danger zone. But it's not made it onto the road. Not enough truck underrides are actually being used. That IHS developed are not being used like that. And I believe a policy should be set forth to create a regulation on how supportive and how strong these truck underrides can be to stop this dangerous accidents from happening. Jacked up trucks is another thing that needs to be addressed. In order for the crumple zone and frame rails to work, they need to hit something solid in an accident in order to be able to absorb the force. But the problem with jacked up trucks is very similar. Part of a truck is that they go right over into the windshield area. And there's nothing solid for that car to hit for its frame rail to absorb a lot of the force, which makes it dangerous for not the driver of the truck, but the drivers of the cars. So regulations should be made. A truck can be jacked up in order to keep the drivers of other cars safe in the event of an accident with that truck. And one day when I was at one of my last days at IIHS, we went down to this driving park area right next to the facility where they test out their technology. And I was really, this was my favorite part of the internship. I was really amazed by the kind of technology they had. There is there's really two types that I was able to see. The first, it's not in the slide, but it had to do with parking. And while that might not sound like a major breakthrough or anything, as parking accidents never have like really killed people, it's always low impact crashes. You gotta remember that IIHS was funded by insurance companies to reduce claims, and 90% of claims come from low impact crashes with some parking lots. And this would really cut down as there is no human error in this. It was really impressive technology. You activate it and you drove along a row of cars. When they sense the spot open for you, it would activate on the touch to let you know that it's happening. It would take over control of the wheel, and you control the gas and brakes, and you would get like press on the gas and just turn it into it, and the wheel would turn for you. And if the thing was too tight, it would stop. It would tell you to shift into reverse to pull itself back. Just but then the one that's more useful for high-speed, dangerous accidents is crash prevention. There is cameras on the front that they can see quickly oncoming objects, and if the driver does not press the brake, they will press the brake once it starts getting too close. Currently, it is able to brake a car going 25 miles per hour to stop. While most areas on the road are not 25 miles per hour, it can still really help because it will slow down the car dramatically before it hits, which will mean there'll be less acceleration going into it with less force, so the accident will be a lot less of a catastrophe. They use these objects so that the camera, it tricks the camera into thinking it's a car, become more and more like cars in order for it to be able to, or else it would just think, would not understand what it was. Pedestrians right now, but I believe to expand it to work on many objects and things. And it's soft enough so that if the technology malfunctions, the car will hit it without any major damage to the car or its passenger. In the future, car designs have really come very far, and my mentor said that in the future, they're really focusing on technology more now, crash prevention, being able to stop crashes before they ever happen, having cars brake and slow down before it's in the crash. And then there's also unibodies. In most cars, the parts are manufactured separately and then put together. And this is pretty normal, but now they have this new technique, unibody. This is the underside of the car that uses a unibody. And unibodies are where the parts are all assembled, already connected. In a crash, they will be less likely to break apart, to break off, because they're not bolted together. They are like interconnected. So just for my community service, with two other classmates, Nicholas Shudo and Mohammed Hader, we contacted Dr. Anthony Remichin. He was in charge of an exhibit at a local elementary school. They were, and we contacted him and got into the expo, and we had an exhibit of our own where we each had 3 activities that we all did hands-on. There were 2 tracks, and I put wooden blocks at each one, and I had multiple types of cars. They're all different weights and sizes, and I would ask kids which car do they think would go the fastest down the track, which one do you think is the fastest? And they'd always almost pick the biggest one, the heaviest one at a scale so they could weigh the cars themselves. And then when race them down, they would find that the weight did not actually affect the acceleration due to gravity. They all usually came and hit the blocks at the same time. But the heavier one would send the block flying across the room, and it would keep continuing on, showing the force that's behind objects of greater mass, while the lighter ones would just bounce. Hindsight, I wish I looked more at community service. It was good, but I feel like the age group was a little young for what I was doing. I thought it was going to be older. Even my simple project went over a lot of the kids who were really young and they just wanted to come over and play with cars. And I got a lot of kids, but it was not as educational as I would have wished. I also wish I'd start my internship during the summer. I would have worked better. I wouldn't have had to worry about school and the internship at the same time. I could have spent more time there. I would have had to base my schedule around school and sports. to really think and I started thinking I should just pick one I could get and just go with that. But I'm really glad I went with the one I did. You should pick something that you're interested in. You shouldn't just go for anything random that you could just do. Because if you're interested in it, then you'll really enjoy this project and stuff. And if it turns out that you don't actually like it, then you'll learn a valuable lesson about what you want to do in the future. And maybe that's not good for you, or maybe that is, but you shouldn't just go with something just so you have a project. I learned that I actually really like engineering. I wasn't so sure about it. I've heard a lot about it before this year. Like engineering is like a big field. There's lots of options. I wasn't sure if it was really meant for me though. But this project really saw me like see all the options. I really enjoyed working there. I saw what they were doing. I thought it was pretty cool. And next year I will be attending EPT to major in engineering. So, yeah. Any questions?
Pat, did you come across in your research anything about, and there's a lot now about self-driving cars, the Google car, and where do you think that might be headed?
I think it's definitely going to become an option in the future. They had kind of a self-driving car there. They had to like input into it though what it would do. It would drive itself, but they had to have someone behind a computer saying, drive at this speed, this distance, make a turn like this. It was useful for their testing though, because it was a machine, there was no human error, and it did the exact same thing every single time, which was useful for their testing. But I didn't really get a look into self-driving, as more focused on the safety part.
So I find myself headed right toward a tree. Which part of the car should I aim for?
I don't really know how to say that. I never was asked that or asked that.
I think I'll avoid the tree altogether.
I mean, it would be best just to try and brake as much as possible, you know, the less acceleration, I don't know, I never asked which area of the car is the best to crash. That was never really brought up.
David, we'll have a chat about that.
Is it a bad idea to drive a convertible?
No. Unless you get in a roller, hopefully you're not thinking you're going to get in a rolling car. That's minivans, because they're built on a regular car frame, but then they just add on to make them bigger. So that the parts that